in Ponyville shimmers, morning in Ponyville shines, and I know for absolute certain that everything will time.
Good evening, my viewers and subscribers. I am TorridPasta999, your online horror host who you go to find out what lives and what gets sent straight to hell. Now, seeing as how this channel started out mostly doing reaction videos, and given the fact that there has been a creative drought this year, I thought it is thematically appropriate that this year I should treat you all to my own brand of reaction. And what piece of terror have I come up with for you to watch with me tonight? Why, a little known video called Project G-1. So sit back and enjoy as we watch this masterpiece together. Hey, we're off to a great start!
Loyalty, honour, respect. When you lose even one of those, you take something away from those around you.
Ain't that the truth?
The ones you love, your friends. We let down those closest to us, without ever realising we'd done so.
I myself do it on purpose.
They didn't leave work at night. They worked the railways for the love of railways. They weren't silenced. They weren't subdued. They just didn't have anything to object to. By the time they realised there was a problem, it was too late. We didn't stifle them. We didn't lock them away. We didn't lie to them.
Again, I say, wimps!
We just didn't listen.
Oh, please, I can think of way worse than that! Oh, why do they always have to go and kill the cute things? Reminds me of the time I tried to get into Skywalker Ranch. Gave old Georgie a fear of vampire ponies in the process. Good times.
On the 6th of October 2015, the world was reintroduced to the horrors and suffering that began on a small island off the northwest coast of
quiz
England.
nights at 2 AM.
People had just become desensitised to what had happened to Thomas and his friends. The reaction, or rather, overreaction began.
Man, Markiplier really let himself go.
This young man in the USA had become so traumatised by Shed 17, he had memorised all the dialogue and would do nothing but watch the programme in a loop, mouthing the words.
I did that once. It was a slow week.
Many viewers would be offered similar treatment, often being asked to illustrate what...
Isn't it nice when you can simply go to DeviantArt for fan art of your project and then use it and claim it was made by traumatized casual viewers?
This young man began making his own model railway stories as a form of treatment.
These days it's called treatment. Back then we simply called it a hobby.
After the Thomas incident became public, the tourist trade began to dry up. People stopped coming to Soda.
I stayed there once. Scared to be Hazelbob out of some punk kids too.
Numerous attempts were made to salvage the tourist trade on Sodor. Finally, in a last-ditch attempt, the railway was promoted with an ill-judged celebrity endorsement.
Ill-judged doesn't even begin to cover using Rick Sanchez for your celebrity endorsement.
With the documentary came the public outcry and the media's need for a scapegoat.
Yep, that sounds like The Guardian, alright.
The fat had vanished with all his money, and there I was, in full public view, being blamed for...
Insert obvious Fox News joke here.
As the government finally relented and shut down the whole biofusion operation on Sodor, a tragic dilemma faced the scientists.
Some people were still in the biofusion process. Being in process is the last place anyone wants to be. They had to complete their procedures quickly, or they'd be left to die.
That meant turning them into the simplest form of life that existed.
Is that ominous crucifix in the back supposed to be symbolic of something?
Fortunately, most of them didn't live long.
And that right there is just shoddy work.
The biological organs' exposure to the open world meant an increased risk of infection and slow, painful death.
So, all in all, making the freight cars just ended up killing them anyway. Nice!
Some trains would seek opportunity elsewhere. Chris Duck Dixon and
Duck's real name was Montague. I just want to point that out. They called him Duck because everyone thought he waddled.
When it looked as though they would be locked away forever, the Japan Railway Group offered them work on their railway. Unfortunately, arriving in Tokyo, Duck and Oliver would find that, under Japanese law, they weren't recognised as human beings, and so had no rights at all.
Sounds more like North Korea.
Learned their true fate.
Ooh, Transformers. Cool. Still cool.
The British government had banned the use of biofusion publicly, but couldn't ignore the military opportunities.
Project G-1 was Professor Owen Ruth's dream.
G-1 fanboy.
Were created, although these twins were far from identical.
They look pretty similar to me.
In an effort to deflect criticism, Annie and Clarabelle, the first two biofused coaches, were put into service straight away.
Everyone was very excited.
Huh. I wonder where I can get a coach with flesh-covered seats.
Leather furnishings.
Reminds me of that time I raided a prison full of pedophiles and slaughtered them all. That was a particularly busy month and I needed a vacation.
Hit Logistics weren't just interested in how twins were created. It was the abilities they had because of it.
The telepathic links between twin engines was found to be incredibly powerful.
Sounds like my mother and her twin sister. Not even kidding.
Its Logistics would use what they had learnt to work on duplication. A volunteer soldier could be biofused exponentially, creating copies of those cells. Able to react to danger and orders in a fraction of the time. To maintain the secrecy of these illegal experiments, the soldiers' faces would be covered up, so that the only giveaway was a cry of discomfort when a vehicle was damaged or a tank shell was fired.
Well, this just made modern warfare all the more interesting.
But Professor Ruth wanted to take these experiments further, to duplicate his deprogrammed cells to assimilate any biofused matter it made contact with, to assume any form of any size.
A weapon dropped into a city that can take any form it wishes and adapt any organic material it finds. Whole communities of people removed and left empty for occupation.
And thus was the origin of Perfect Cell.
Is the secure storage of biofused genetic matter in stasis. To release this material in an uncontrolled state would be disastrous.
I see a giant number 4 and it's leaving a big shadow. Should I be excited?
This would become more extreme, to test just how far the telekinetic link in biofused matter would go.
Oh yeah, definitely like my mother and my aunt.
Hit Logistics would also be seen as a welcome refuge from another threat on Sodor.
Steamies, we called them. They started out as rail enthusiasts, train spotters. They loved engines, but where was the harm in that?
Sounds like the Brony fandom.
Engines were introduced on Sodor. They couldn't get here fast enough.
Most were seen as enthusiastic volunteers on the railway, some getting permanent jobs.
Now the Steamies' obsession with engines had a new, darker place to vent their frustrations. This security footage, hidden by Sodor research until now, shows Gordon desperately pretending he couldn't fit on the turntable. But James was always the favourite, even to the television writers.
James's driver and fireman were feeling him all over.
Yep, definitely like the bronies.
Protests aimed at the government and hit logistics. The destruction of the evidence was speeded up. Unnecessary engines were being incinerated, quickly and brutally.
Where do I sign up to work at this place? It sounds amazing!
Rights of biofused engines will be ignored no more. The secrets of Sodor will be revealed. The state-sponsored torture of engines must be stopped.
This might sound like a simple Elseworlds fanfic, but there are actually people out there who really say stuff like this and really do think that trains are being oppressed.
Use Welsh coal to get the weaker engines started up, to give some engines a kick when they were struggling to get up in the morning. We never realised all the effects it was having on some engines.
Here the coal, man. No? Now what are you looking at me for? Oh, let's all look at funny engine. Is that right? Let's all look at the funny engine. Let's all look at the funny engine.
Welsh coal acted as a narcotic on the engines. Prolonged use would lead to addiction and dependency.
That's right.
I personally get my rush from killing people. Don't worry, I only kill pedophiles.
Telling him to do things. Bad things.
Yes, said Gordon, I will.
One has to wonder how an engine with no hands started a station fire.
Statistics would later take Welsh coal research to its natural conclusion. High-speed steam engines would be pushed to their limit on high doses of the coal.
Makes me wonder why Marvel never gave us a Ghost Rider who drove a flaming ghost train.
Please, no, God, no! No! No!
Did Cranky just somehow walk all the way over there? Huh. That answers that question.
Diesel had veered into the now secured stasis container of Project G Stage 1.
You know what they say. Coughs and sneezes spread diseases.
Matter to assimilate any matter it wished, and to take on any form it wished.
So naturally it takes the form of a skeleton arm. Suddenly I have a fantastic idea for Pacific Rim 3!
After 28 operations to try and reconstruct him as a human being, he had remained behind closed doors, unwilling, until now, to show the world the monster he had become.
I wouldn't call him a monster so much as I would an abomination.
The mystery of the Blue Mountain had been solved. 6,000 tons of desiccated, dehumanized biofused matter, hidden in full view.
Ah, so that's the origin of Majora's Moon.
The only person who hadn't abandoned him. I could hold my head up high and say, I was right.
And that is why you decided to relay that entire story right next to him. Honestly, you had this coming. Was that blood or sawdust? I can never tell with these projects. Sure, they have their own nation now, but give it a few decades and soon they'll be illegally migrating in our direction.
Relax, Mr. Hartley. You are in our capable hands now.
Huh. Apparently it was sawdust. Don't do drugs if you can't handle the missing flesh.
Don't worry, Mr. Hartley. You're among friends here. This is where everyone ends up once they've become troublesome.
Aw, that's so cute! He has no mouth and yet he must scream.
No one's even been here in like 50 years.
Okay, so apparently we are illegally immigrating onto their land. I should have seen that coming.
Oh my god!
Yes! Stay off his lawn!
Oh my god!
Well, there you go, my viewers. I hope you enjoyed watching this lovely little Hallmark film with me. Maybe next year we can do this again, or who knows, maybe I'll have another review, or a theory, or another top 10 even. Perhaps next time I'll be reading off some creepypasta. Who knows? Until then, my viewers, this is TorridPasta999, signing out, and reminding you, the worst kind of monsters are the ones that we create. Happy Nightmare Night!
Muffins!